We are talking about getting your brand out in front of people, and branding, I think, is quite important. He has a podcast. It's called I Have a Podcast, and it's registered trademark. And I'm curious, why did you name it that? Is it for your avatar? Is there something behind it? Or is it just you wanted to be proud of yourself that you finally got your podcast?
To be blunt and honest, I'm proud that I own intellectual property.
Okay.
And most of the people I work with don't own the projects that we created. Also, you're talking to the guy who did the Osbournes and Run's House and the Ashley Simpson Show. I could be pretty literal at times. I could have leaned on idioms. I love idioms too. So taking something that's familiar and giving it a new twinge. I did a show on Lifetime called Questions of Love. You think you've heard it before, but you haven't. It's a new concept. The truth is I want people to be inspired by what I have. I have a great career, and none of that content I own, and I've been a part of tremendous franchises and successes and creativity and failures. I got to point that out too. But most of my clients come to me saying, I saw you have a podcast and I want one too. Also, we say it. People said punked. The people said Yo Mama. We didn't come up with Yo Mama on MTV as a TV show name if it weren't for what we were saying. And I look at the colloquialisms. I look at the language that we're using, that we're connecting with, that also separates us. And that's why it's clunky by design. I have a podcast is trackable. I did register it, by the way, for a couple of $100. So I highly recommend registering a trademark that you can really lean into. And then I have a podcast on TV and I have a podcast on the radio, so I can be really clunky with it, so you can track what I'm doing with it. Because if I can do it, so can you. These are networking opportunities that have come my way more so than something I did 20 years ago or 5 years ago in TV that did right. It's modern networking that really helped me do that.
Okay. What does the listener need to know if they want a successful thought leadership platform?
Oh, that's a great question. Look, I think the answer for this is the same podcaster who's at the 10,000 downloads per mark and they're trying to figure out if they go to the next. It's self-confidence. It's really got to start with self-confidence. If it doesn't start with self-confidence, you don't see the red flags. You question your value. It drives me crazy when people say, oh, how do I create content that's valuable? And I say, you don't. You are the valuable. You are what makes this valuable. The message, a lot of us have a very similar message, by the way, about the environment, about politics, about family, about holidays. But it's us, the individuals, that make our message fascinating and unique. And that relies on self-confidence. For thought leadership, if you're going to get out there and say something before anybody else has, you need to have that confidence to start a trend, to see a trend and spot a trend and call that trend, even if as that trend is happening. It's self-confidence. It's self-confidence to stay in it, to show up in a space where you belong. And let me remind you, I came from TV where a couple of people own the TV industry. We, the creators of podcasting, own the content in the it's our episodes every single day that make this industry bigger. So for all y'all who hear podcasting is oversaturated, let me tell you something. Who told you that? The TV people? Magazine people? I'd be scared too if I was coming from their perspective. I heard the same thing in reality TV in the late 90s. Are you crazy? This is never going to pick up. Every single network and platform has documentary, real life opportunities now for people to share their stories. You have to have confidence to stand up for a concept that you believe in. And look, time is a weirdo. I blame everything on time. My favorite word in the entire world is yet. Yet. I haven't made it yet. I didn't win my Emmy yet. And then I realized I didn't win an Emmy because I've never been nominated. And I've never been nominated because I never applied. I never paid the fee that it takes to be considered. And Beyonce pays for every single one of her Grammy nominations, and artists pay for every single one of their Oscars and Tonys. There's no difference. And when I realized I was making that decision, to me, again, self-confidence. I'm in an interview and I saw that my resolution was not high quality. The self-confidence kicked in me. I said, I'm making a decision to make me 480, 720, not even HD. I'm making a decision to have bad lighting. I'm making a decision not to have fancy audio uplighting, because like nothing makes you look more legit than like uplighting in podcasting. And these are self-confident moves that made me say, I want to show up in my own best light. Because what I don't need is a casting director from the 90s to tap me on my shoulder to tell me that this is my moment. What I do need is to be in the right place, right time, right people, saying the right thing, so that when you find me, you make this opportunity happen. And that's what we get to do. That's how we get to show up now. Whether you're a business leader, a college student, a 7-year-old, you identify as a creative, you identify as talent or don't. We have the ability now to create content and make those creative opportunities happen.